Welcome to Eagles Uncovered, presented by the Undroppables. I'm Brad McKay. That's Tyson Gentry. Oh, boy. Tyson, I kind of do it tongue-in-cheek at this point, but since we started this, the Eagles have literally not lost. It is crazy at this point, and don't worry, Eagles fans, I'm knocking on wood, but it got scary last week. It really did. Who would have thought it was going to be the Carolina Panthers that would have given them the biggest scare?
Yeah, and we can't take credit for being 9-0, Brad, because we didn't do a show last week. We had some other obligations going on, so we're 8-0 here on the show with an asterisk for the 9-0 start here since we've started doing this. That Panthers game was scary. We're going to get into it. We're going to talk a little bit about the Pittsburgh Steelers as that game is coming up Sunday at – is it 4:25 Eastern, 2:25 my time? So we're excited for that, but we're back in the saddle. Hopefully the Birds look like they did against the Ravens and not like they did against the Panthers.
Yeah, and we'll kind of diving into that and taking a bird's eye view of it, right? Because, the Panthers have been playing better of late, right? They should have beat the Chiefs, and that's more for a national show to kind of bring everything to the Panthers, but this was a game that's kind of like a classic trap, right? Like the Eagles come off a huge victory against the Ravens. Oh, we got to go play the Panthers. It's kind of sleepy. You have a sandwich spot where, it's a showdown, an in-state one, little Keystone rivalry between the Pittsburgh Steelers who are playing well. And so, the Panthers, for what they were earlier in the year, they come in with confidence, have been playing well, and they played up to it, right? Like I think the Eagles played down to the competition, and that's something that happens. I think that's why we have a bunch of discourse coming out of the locker room, which we'll get into with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts. But we got a ton to talk about, and we'll close off with our predictions, like Tyson said. But you watched more of this game than me. I had to follow my phone because I was out of the country. So we were not able to use the VPN, unfortunately, to get that going. But I was following along my phone. It felt like a sleepy game. Give me kind of what your takeaways were.
Well, there were moments in that game that felt an awful lot like 2023. Obviously, it's not the same thing, people, so calm down out there. There's a lot of doomers going on right now in the Delco area. But I think that there were times that guys were running around wide open, and that's been happening over the last couple of weeks. You can flash back to Lamar Jackson kind of missing Isaiah Likely on a wheel route against the Ravens, and then there were some Panthers guys kind of uncovered and some bigger plays. But as you mentioned, like there is something to be said. NFL teams can play down to the competition occasionally. We've kind of grown used to this Philadelphia Eagles team not falling into that trap, so to speak. I mean, there was the Browns game that was close and the Saints game and those kind of things, but they've been rolling for a while, so this was a soft reset. The passing game looked bad. This was Jalen's, I don't care what the stats say. I thought this might have been his worst performance since maybe 2021. He's had some stinkers here and there throughout, but he was hesitant to throw the football. And it also felt to me, Brad, like there is Panthers film, and then there are the way the Panthers are playing right now, and those are different things for the offense and for the defense to take advantage of or to even look at. Adam Thielen welcomes some guys to the NFL, and that's just the way things are going to go.
Yeah, he's a savvy vet, right? Like, it's funny because we talked about, like, oh, look at all these guys like Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean have been shutting down. But, a lot of those guys are doing it for this because they're purely talented. They just run by defenders. Like, Thielen's like, dude, I just got to break you down and just watch what you do and using routes and everything like that, which is funny. And sometimes that's more effective against these young guys than just, hey, I'm just going to use my speed and burn past you. And so that was funny to note. Are you concerned at all here? Like, is this something where the alarm bell's going off?
No, because the Kansas City Chiefs are sitting here with one loss. They win games like this all the time. The Philadelphia Eagles have made a habit of winning games like this in 2023 and then at times in 2024. This is a good team that won a game. And to be honest, like, for those of you that like listen to Brad and I outside of this, we're huge Bryce Young guys. So it was a little bittersweet watching him. Like I thought a 99-yard drive by Bryce Young was going to sink our ship here, which I didn't really know how to take. I was like half fist pumping for like my Bryce Young card collection and all of that stuff. But the other part of me was like, gosh, dang it. Yeah, I'm not discouraged at all. Sure, there are things that need to be cleaned up. There were things that need to be cleaned up before this football game, and they just kind of, the fact that they weren't cleaned up in a week, people were a little upset.
Sure. Let's dive into A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts, because that's what everybody's talking about. Like, this is leading sports, national sports coverage, debate shows, all that good stuff. I'm sure in the Philly local radio, we don't live there, but, we tune in every once in a while. We don't live in the market, but we tune in. I think it's funny. I was watching on SportsCenter, Tyson, and the headline is what's the conversation now that there's locker room turmoil? Like, what do you mean locker room turmoil? Like Saquon, and then there's like videos come out like, oh, Saquon Barkley, I just want to win. Everybody's having a good time on the sideline. It's like two guys who are friends arguing. Now all of a sudden there's locker room turmoil. Like, it's just such a joke how things get blown out of proportion. And so we talked about this on a different show that we do, and we'll kind of rehash a little bit of our thoughts. And it's going to be similar, right? Because we're not going to change our mind on this. But both you and I were saying, and we'll kind of lay it out for the Eagles Uncovered audience, that this is a nothing burger. Like, these guys have been arguing before. And these guys are friends still. The way that people, especially in this Eagles Philadelphia market, just loves to jump over negativity is insane. Like, it's a fan for negativity. Like, people welcome it. They need it. They love it. They look for every little thing. Like, how can you not sit here and be impressed with this football team? Oh my God, yeah, Jalen Hurts had a bad game. Him and AJ Brown are arguing. You know what? That's football. That's pro sports. So I think this is not a big deal. I actually am encouraged that there are still things that are pissing people off within the locker room and having them fired up and motivating them. And I don't think this is going to be something that derails this at all.
No, I think that it was Brandon Graham maybe misspeaking, or the concerning part is like BG's had more media training like years wise than some of these rookies have been alive, it feels like. So it was like, come on, man, you put your foot in your mouth a little bit there. AJ Brown is a premier competitor in the NFL. Jalen Hurts is a premier competitor in the NFL. If you've ever competed really at any level, I've seen Brad get in fistfights at practice before when we were playing high school. Like, it's a different thing. You're going to be mad when things aren't going your way. And AJ was open. He wanted the football. Jalen wasn't able to get him the football. The team won the game. Are we all brushing under the rug? 2 weeks ago, they're doing a Fresh Prince celebration together after AJ scores a touchdown. And that's the coolest thing of the week. Of course, these guys are going to have some drama. They threw for 106 yards, one of Jalen's lowest totals in his career, essentially. Yeah, he should have let the thing loose. The fact that like they're arguing is good, and one of the things that I keep kind of coming back to, there's no way Amon-Ra St. Brown's not sitting in that Lions locker room going, I've had over 80 yards 3 times this season. I'm one of the best players in the NFL. You think T. Higgins was pumped with the second half on Monday Night Football here? It became a story because it got out and because the Philadelphia media loves to latch on to something that's negative. This was a story in 2023 for the Eagles. It's a story for the Sixers. It's a story for the Phillies, the Flyers, like all of that stuff all the time. It's as negative as we can get. We're going to try to do it. They are friends. They had a fight. If you're not fighting with your brothers, you're probably not as close as you think you are. The fact that they're able to kind of move past this, both of them go to the press conferences yesterday, and they're kind of like smiling at the media, like, yeah, you guys like that, didn't you? I can't believe this has become as big as it is. If anybody should be mad, it's probably Devontae Smith, and he's sitting there. He was a little bit upset after the game, but nobody cares about that because Devontae Smith is buttoned up and it's quiet on the Devontae Smith front. So AJ gives you a little nugget. There's not a ton of talk about when they win a boring game and you feel kind of gross afterwards. They won the football game. The passing offense needs to improve. Both of those things are true. Jalen Hurts and AJ Brown are friends. That can also be true. Mm-hmm. This whole thing was just a bit ridiculous, man.
Yes, it was. And so I'll just hint for you guys come up later in the show. This is going to be a major part of my bold prediction that Tyson and I are going to do that we do every week. So that's just keep in mind when we're talking about this. I think it's going to be a big game, and that's all. I'll leave it at that. Let's move over into the Steelers game, because this Steelers team, man, everybody and their mother once again is like, no way this team's going to do good. Oh my God, you got Russell Wilson, who's washed, Justin Fields, who sucks. Art Smith gets run out of Atlanta, and this offense is going to be disgusting. Oh, this defense is going to take a step back. We know TJ Watt is going to be healthy, but this team's still. And once again, Mike Tomlin secures another winning record. It's insane. And this is the best version, I think, that we've seen since Big Ben was the quarterback. Like that one year when they went, I think, kind of similar record what they're at now, even if they even went 13-0.
I think they started 11-0 that year.
11-0. That was smoke and mirrors. Like, that was black magic. This is like Russell Wilson in this offense is really good. And I think, Tyson, this is the offense that can really give the Eagles some issues, because you do a lot of play action look, do a lot of under center, you bootleg right, bootleg left. We like our linebackers going downhill in Philly, right? We don't like them having to bite and then drop back. That's not the strength here. So I think they could get into trouble there. And again, we talk about an inexperienced secondary. What hurts? Play action, right? You get out of position, you get out of shape, your eyes change. That to me is the scary part here. Now, George Pickens looks like he's going to miss this game. That's huge for the Eagles. So I'll throw it to you there. I kind of did a synopsis on what I think this offense is in this Steelers team. But, I mean, what are you thinking about going in? How have you looked at this matchup on paper?
Well, one, the Philadelphia Eagles never beat Russell Wilson. He's 5-0 in his career against the Philadelphia Eagles, and if you're watching this, you probably remember all 5 of those because they felt like they were ripped. Like it wasn't just a normal loss; they were always demoralizing. You can think back to 2017 when they go on Monday Night Football there, and Wentz has a crazy throw over Byron Maxwell. They lost that game, and that's not talked about very much. Russell is the Philadelphia Eagles boogeyman. However, it does feel to me that if Pickens does play and he's at 75%, we can have that conversation, I suppose. I'm going to operate under the assumption that 75% of George Pickens is not going to beat you, and I could be wrong. He could absolutely tear up Quinyon Mitchell. Welcome to the NFL. He gets Cooper DeJean. He gets Darius Slay. That's the exact kind of receiver that Slay can struggle with. The Eagles don't seem to be as susceptible to the Russell Wilson moonball as they have been in years past, but I'm worried about things going over the middle of the field. And I know, Russell doesn't throw over the middle of the field. Well, he doesn't throw the short stuff over the middle of the field, but he might find a time to pick on Tristan McCollum if Reed Blankenship's concussion. He's practicing in full, so you would expect him to play. However, things can be a little finicky with the concussion stuff. Like just one minor setback and he's out this week. So that's something to monitor as well. Chuba Hubbard got it going against the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday. And so if you're looking at this, the Pittsburgh Steelers might be able to lean on Najee Harris a little bit, which is what they want to do. I think I'm afraid of Pat Freiermuth this week, and I'm afraid of Najee Harris. I'm not scared of Calvin Austin. I might eat my words here later in the week. But as far as what the Steelers offense wants to do, it's not necessarily a test the Eagles haven't passed, but it's a little bit more physical than the kind of way that they've had to win football games so far this season, because the Steelers just want to fight you. That's all they want to do, and they're really, really good at it.
You know, it's funny because Derrick Henry and the Ravens couldn't get anything going on. And during this run that the Eagles have been on, this winning streak, they've done a really good job of stopping the run. The Panthers have quietly had an offensive line that's been mauling everybody they face. Like, they completely moved the Kansas City Chiefs. And that was what everybody's like, oh, the Chiefs' run defense is elite. And it's been pretty good. I mean, I got to say, the Panthers might be one of the sneakiest best run unit offensive lines in the league. Now, I know the EPA per play and total rush yards won't suggest that, but just watch the tape and it's like, dude, these guys are moving people and Hubbard's taking advantage. So I'm curious to know if the Steelers' offensive line can do the same. Now, they're kind of big and they're able to maul a little bit, but Tyson, I mean, a lot of the times it's, Najee Harris is going for 5, and it's just like he's just putting his head down and falling forward for 5. And Jaylen Warren kind of breaks one every once in a while, but it's not the consistent gash. So I'll be curious to see if the Eagles' run defense can improve in this one, if it was just a bad matchup against the Panthers, because that'll be something to note going forward. You mentioned Russell Wilson. It's my guy. Do you think, though this is kind of getting off topic here, do you think that Howie Roseman wanted to trade for him or wanted to sign him because he's like, I can't keep losing to this guy?
He probably, I mean, it's no secret. He's been a draft crush or a crush of Howie Roseman's for a long time, of how he was in charge. He probably ends up a Philadelphia Eagle in the draft. I think, wasn't that a Chip Kelly year when Russell Wilson came out and they ended up with Foles? Or no, that might have been that was Andy and the boys. But regardless, Howie Roseman is he hasn't hidden his affection for Russell Wilson. They were in the market for him when he left the Seahawks and he goes to the Broncos. And I'm sure that was floated. Is this a Kenny Pickett revenge game? No, I'm just kidding. But
sure. If he's in, Tyson, we got some bigger problems than just this game.
Or it's a victory cigar and we're just fine, because maybe your bold prediction later in the episode does hit. But Russell owns the Philadelphia Eagles. However, this Eagles offense put the boot to the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2022. It's a different Pittsburgh Steelers defense. It's a different Philadelphia Eagles offense. But it's a lot like, Brad, you and I both play golf. Every tee box I've ever stood on, if I've played that course before, I'm imagining the best shot I've ever hit, not the worst one. And I think that there is going to be a little bit of that where A.J. Brown's looking across, he's seeing that black and gold, and he's going, I had 3 touchdowns on these guys 2 years ago. I'm going to eat. This is the origin of he's towel whipping. He's counting them in the end zone. He's getting fined, all of that stuff. What does the Eagles offense have to look like to you for us to not be complaining about it a week from now?
So this is a good run stopping unit. So I actually think we're going to see more passing, which kind of makes us as Eagles fans a little nervous about the record for Saquon. I think he's still going to get his maybe 80 yards, but I don't think they're going to be bashing their head against the wall here offensively. I don't think they're going to just go in like, let's give Saquon the ball 25 times. I think they're going to trust Jalen to throw the rock. I think they're going to have success that way. So for it to look successful, look good, I want Jalen to take care of the ball. I want the offensive line. I'll be comfortable with 3 sacks. This is a really good pressure unit. You get coming out of this with 3 sacks, Jalen holds on to the ball. I think that's fine for the offensive line. And it's got to be 250 plus if the game script calls for it, right? Like if they're going in, they're like, we can throw the ball on these guys. Jalen Hurts gets 35, let's say 35 plus attempts. He's got to throw for 250. It's got to look good. He's got to be willing to let the ball eat and throw the football. The secondary is not something you should be scared of. Now, Joey Porter Jr., different animal, right? Like he can match a little physicality on A.J. Brown, potentially. But we'll see what happens. But it's for me, the passing offense, it's got to be timing. It's got to be rhythm. It's got to be finding open guys. I mean, we're watching on a TV copy, and we're like, dude, that guy's wide open. Throw him the football. Has to be there this week. What about for you?
Yeah, I think that's true. I also want to caution everybody listening that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the premier team in the NFL at making things look disgusting and making games gross and muddy, and they take advantage of things. The Philadelphia Eagles special teams units have been really good this season. They've also had some moments where you're looking around like, what the is going on out here? And the Steelers are the type of team who does block a punt, who does just kind of lull you into that false sense of security, and then all of a sudden you look up and it's 17-13, and they're coming back. So the TJ Watt is the elephant in the room, so to speak, but it's a pretty big elephant. And the Philadelphia Eagles are uniquely equipped to not necessarily leave their tackles on an island, but if there are any teams in the NFL that you feel comfortable with in a one-on-one setting for TJ Watt, it's going to be Jordan Mailata, and it's going to be Lane Johnson. There's a Herbig out there, folks, and that name might ring a bell to some of you Eagles fans. He's been really good this year. Highsmith's been really good this year. So that pass rush is definitely scary. I think the 80 feels it just feels weird to say. Like when you said that Saquon's going to get 80 yards, I just felt like that was disrespectful. But that's who this Pittsburgh Steelers defense is. I expect a fist fight between A.J. Brown and Joey Porter Jr. And I think Devontae Smith has a chance here, and we predict this every week. But this could also be another one where he just kind of gets to fill the gap. Brad, Jalen Hurts was looking at Grant Calcaterra a lot last week, and I know when he walked out of there with 3 catches, I think he got another one that got called back, so we can call it 4. There was a lot of Grant Calcaterra focus, and I don't expect that to be the case this weekend.
So Calcaterra was on like Jalen's like no throw ever list. All of a sudden he's sitting next to him on the bench, and they're like buddies, and he's getting the ball.
You remember he played with it? He was like, "Oh, Oklahoma, you're an Oklahoma guy. I went there for you. Let's go."
Yeah, I guess so. I was going to say, did he like buy him a card? Did he give him what did he do to get in Jalen Hurts' good graces? I don't know.
Jalen just had the SMU stuff in his head, and he got confused, saw the Oklahoma, and it was all good. We're still hoping for a Jahan Dotson game, all that stuff. I think this game is won by your stars. If you're the Philadelphia Eagles, It's they want to go out and I think shut some people up, and that's a good place to be, because for as much flack as Nick Sirianni gets from Eagles fans and the national media in general, he's real good in these spots, man.
Oh, well, here's the thing too. Like, is this the first time that the Eagles are being talked about nationally and Sirianni is not the headline? Like, how long has it been?
It's been at least since he cried at the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
everything since then has been about him,
right? And I mean, I know, and there's like people who still think Hurts sucks. I mean, after the game, you see all those meatballs like, oh, we need to like, come on, like, would you rather just have a guy who just wins, or would you want what's going on in Cincinnati? I mean, seriously, it's crazy here. Like, what as an Eagles fan, what do you prefer? It's ridiculous, this whole conversation. But let's start. All right, let's look ahead. Defensively, we'll touch on that a little bit. I think we kind of already did. The whole Pickens thing is going to make it so we can't necessarily preview it as much, right? Because if he's gone, then, or if he's out, I should say, that definitely affects what the Steelers can do. If he's in, then we got to talk about this game if it's front. But he's still not going to be 100%. So it's hard for us to kind of preview how this is going to look without knowing if he's going to play or not. Defensively, I'll just tell you this. I want him to get after the passer here. Like, I need to see more pass rush. I think based on what I saw against the Panthers, the lack of ability to get after the passer on a consistent basis without Brandon Graham, that's something that's a little bit scary. We talked about when Graham went down with an injury, it hurts their rush defense too. Did that come to life in Chuba Hubbard against the Panthers with Chuba Hubbard, or is it just, again, a bad matchup? So that's what I want to be eyeing. And then we got to stop with the coverage breaks in the back, because Calvin Austin, we're not scared of him, but the dude can blow the lid off the top, and same with Van Jefferson.
Yeah, and those are scary. Some random guy on Twitter I've never heard of before added some Steelers insider and said that he expects George Pickens to miss the next 3 weeks and targets a Week 18 return. Take it with a grain of salt, because I don't know anything and I don't know who that guy is. It's unverified and all that stuff. I don't think George Pickens is going to play, and I think that's a huge boon for the Philadelphia Eagles. I also think, Brad, that there are some unique things that the Steelers can do. Nobody that Philly's played over the last huge long stretch. Yeah, the Ravens love their tight ends, but that game kind of evolved in a way that it was just okay, so it's Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews that we have to take away. We can do that. The Steelers have two of these guys, and there's been a Darnell Washington mini, I can't say resurgence because he never showed up before this, but Russell loves that guy, and if he's running downhill at these defensive backs and stuff like that, that can be scary. The Steelers are a really good blocking team on the with the wide receivers. That's a Mike Tomlin special. And again, Pat Freiermuth kind of found his footing, so that's where I'm looking. In Zach Bond, we trust, baby, and this is a guy that has answered the bell every single time that his name has been called. So I could sit here and say, well, I don't really trust him in coverage, but before the season, I didn't trust him in space. I didn't trust him to get to the quarterback or any of this stuff. I'm really excited for this one. It feels swept under the rug a little bit that this is an 11-2 versus 10-3 matchup. It just kind of feels like the AJ Jalen stuff has taken some of the air out of how big this one is, combined with the Lions winning against Green Bay last Thursday. So the number one seed feels a little bit more out of reach right now. This is a massive game for the Philadelphia Eagles. It's also a massive game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, because they're looking around the AFC and they're going, we're not dead yet here either. Pittsburgh hasn't won in Philadelphia since the 60s. They want to get that monkey off their back too.
In Pittsburgh, man, I mean, you want to talk about get to the playoffs. That team can play in the playoffs the way they're constructed. Run the football, play action pass.
Is Tomlin the best coach in the NFL right now? Outside of Andy?
I think McVay's better.
It's close.
He's unbelievable. It's crazy. It's just the way that they continue to win. It is crazy. Okay, so talked a little bit about all this stuff, the Jalen, AJ stuff. Okay, let's do our prediction, then we'll get into our bold. We both think this is going to be a tough game. A lot of the Steelers fans, I got a couple Steelers fans. They're like, talking about the 70s like they were even born.
It's the most entitled fan base outside of Green Bay. It's ridiculous. They clutch their pearls every time you have anything negative to say about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Grow up, guys.
It's brutal. Eagles are going to win this football game. They're going to look good. Defense is going to come to play. They're going to raise their level. It feels like that's what they're doing. Last week was a surprise, kind of shock to the system. Okay, let's get back on track. They win this game. They shut down the offense, and they're able to do enough to win.
Yeah, I think Philadelphia wins this one as well. And I'm really hoping that it's in a resounding fashion so we can sit here next week and just go, yeah, the feet were kicked up just like the last 7 before the Panthers game. It was no issue. I think this is going to be tight, but Philadelphia has too many horses, I think, for most of the league.
Now, before we get in the bold prediction, this is kind of like a lukewarm prediction or thought. Do you think Sirianni purposely does something stupid to get attention back on him and away from Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown?
I don't know. I don't think so. I do think that one of the things that's lost when people talk about Nick is his social intelligence seems to be really high. And so sometimes it's like, oh, it's, he's fine putting on the clown mask sometimes. Like in 2023, he's taking all the blame. Yeah, he hired the coordinators. But come on, people, there are certain times where it does feel like he's jumping on the grenade for the rest of the guys. He tried to take credit for a Vic Fangio audible that didn't work earlier in the year. And Vic had to go to the podium and be like, nobody calls the plays but me.
Yeah, so I just want to throw it out there. Bold prediction. Now, you hit yours the last time we did this. You said Isaiah likely touchdown. I'm still searching for one. I think I hit the first week, and then I have been not red. Basically, that's how cold I've been. Ice cold. So cold it's red. No, I'm going to give it to you because you hit last week. What is your bold prediction against the Steelers?
So initially, I wanted to come in here with a passing game take, and I believe that's the way you're going. So if you watch that Panthers game, you knew getting off the field on 3rd and 4th down was impossible for this Eagles defense, and that's what they've been awesome at this season. The Pittsburgh Steelers are great at sustaining drives, and it's almost a mirror match a little bit where there is a chance that some of these drives, are 8 minutes long on both sides of the football. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense gets off the field on 3rd down, and the Pittsburgh Steelers don't convert more than 35% of their 3rd down opportunities this week. That would be absolutely massive, but that's why it's a bold prediction, because that's an awful low number for a guy in Russell Wilson who doesn't make mistakes, an offense that doesn't turn the football over, an offense who can consistently stay ahead of the chains, and a defense that for the first time in a while looked a little vulnerable. I'm expecting a bounce back out of Vic Fangio and the boys.
Imagine if they only get 2 third downs, convert one of them, and you lose this 50%.
As long as the Birds win the game, I'm cool. I'm like Jalen, man. The main thing's the main thing.
All right, good one. That's creative. That's something we haven't done here. I think there's 0 chance this hits, but I'm going to say 10 catches for A.J. Brown.
Wow.
10. Let's go double digits. Let's get him the rock. Boom, boom, boom. I was thinking about yards, Tyson, but then I'm also thinking they're going to do that. Like, I can just picture them being like pricks, for lack of a better term, and just being like, oh, smoke screen. Yeah, stuff like that. We're getting him the ball. And it's just going to be, I think it's going to be kind of a comedic affair here. So 10 catches, bold prediction for A.J. Brown.
Of those 10 catches, how many of them are slants? And how many of those slants does A.J. turn upfield? And then you go, oh, yeah, that's the best guy after the catch in the league.
3 of them slants, 3 of them smoke screens, 4 of them, or 2 comebacks, and then 2 deep balls. How about that?
Deep balls. All right. So now we're getting specific with it. That's what you tune in here for, folks. I mean, this is what we do. I'm not hearing that on WIP. All I'm hearing is AJ Brown sucks. Devontae Smith needs to get traded, and Jalen Hurts is the worst thing that the Eagles have had since who knows, like Jeff Garcia. I can't even. Some of this stuff is just. Can we let the guys play?
Oh, it's ridiculous. Well, that's what you got to do, right? Because you guys are meatballs. You go down, you get your cheesesteak, and you go get off your construction job, and you're just mad. So you get the Eagles are winning. You're supposed to be mad during the Eagles season. It's not been happening. At least when it was an ebb and flow, you'd be like, I'm mad this week, happy this week, mad this week. There's just nothing right now. It's like it's all kumbaya. So when there's a little argument on the sideline in a professional sport, you got to take it and run.
So just keep in mind, people, get your social medias up, because the first drive of the game, when they run an RPO that Jalen keeps for some reason, runs 2 yards, to the right or to the left, and then falls down for a loss of 1, social media is going to light up. This guy sucks. He's not even mobile. The Steelers shut down Lamar Jackson. What are you trying to do, running the football with your quarterback?
It's going to be funny. It is going to be funny. But here at Eagles Uncovered, what we do is we give you our thoughts. No hot takes. We try to come in here with a little analysis. We give our bold predictions, get a little bit of hot take in here. But since we have started this show, folks, undefeated Eagles. We both think they're going to continue that this weekend against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll be back breaking everything down next week and then previewing the following week as the Eagles get closer and closer to the playoffs. For Brad Wakai, for Tyson Gentry, this has been Eagles Uncovered, presented by the Undroppables. Enjoy the game. We'll talk to you next week.